The Waterways Committee considers a proposal aimed at keeping charter boats in Barnstable Harbor. Finance Director Mark Milne reviews fiscal 2015. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, April 29th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mantle. Town officials consider a measure to keep working charter boats in Barnstable Harbor. Town Council Vice President Ann Kennedy talked about the need for town slips that are dedicated to charter boats in Barnstable Harbor during this week's Waterways Committee meeting.
When I was, a teenager, there were 12 charter boats in that harbor, and it was a very viable industry. Now there are 4, as we've heard. And what we're looking for is a way to ensure a permanent presence of the charter boat industry. Right now it's not possible because unlike the federal government and the state government, which treats commercial boats as commercial entities, the town of Barnstable sees them as just another slip holder. And therefore, when a charter boat captain dies or retires, that slip is given up, and the next person on the list, who it may be a recreational user, gets that slip. And what we're suggesting is that that we would lock in 4 to 5 slips, that the onus would be on the charter boat captain or owner to make his own business arrangements of transferability, or sale. But that slip would be kept in perpetuity. If that charter boat owner decided he didn't want to continue the business, didn't want to sell his business, just wanted to give it up, then that boat, that slip would be open for the town to go down the list for another charter boat user. There's ways to doing it, and I have talked to the town attorney and the town manager, and there's ways that we could lock it up so that it would be, definitely charter boat use and not abused. You could require licensing, as does the state and the federal government. You could require a fee, a special fee. You could require, I hate to say this for the charter boat users, but you could charge more for the slip. So I see it as a benefit because it ensures the charter boat industry, which is important to the harbor and to the town and to the village. And it, I think, turns back revenue tenfold to the town.
One proposal would allow for the creation of a separate waiting list for charter boats, along with an allotted number of slips dedicated to charters. The Waterways Committee liked the proposal and will continue to discuss the implementation of a charter boat slip program at its next meeting. Revenue collections for the town of Barnstable are on track so far this year. To find out more, Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin talked with Finance Director Mark Milne. We share a portion of that interview with you now.
So let's talk a little bit about revenue collections, Mark. That's our topic of discussion for the first 3 quarters of fiscal 15. Let's start with the general fund in terms of taking a look at some of those revenue collections.
Sure. Yeah. Through the first 3 quarters of the fiscal year, everything seems to be tracking in accordance with our plan. We don't have any significant concerns in any particular area at this point. Collections are on pace with prior years. Each category is coming in as expected. There'll be some timing issues on some of the revenues, like beach stickers and parking, things like that. They may look on a percentage basis that we're behind, but a lot of revenue comes in the month of May and June, particularly in that area.
Interesting. So of course, because people are getting their beach stickers for the coming year, getting ready for the season. But it looks like, there aren't too many significant shifts when we're looking at those kind of parking, at least the parking sticker revenue.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Again, there's not much. There really is no area of concern. We're actually seeing some growth in some revenue categories like motor vehicle excise. Looking at that, we're actually slightly ahead of last fiscal year, and last fiscal year was a very good year for us, motor vehicle excise. We're expecting that trend to continue once again. However, we are waiting for some more commitments from the Registry of Motor Vehicles, which we haven't seen yet, that we're investigating. But usually we get a commitment every month, but it's been a couple of months since we got one from them.
Interesting. So is that just
we're tracking that down, find out where that is, because we know people have been buying cars over the past couple of months.
Absolutely. It's interesting to see that trend continue. I know we talked about that a lot last fiscal year as we saw those excise taxes going up, but interesting to see that trend is continuing and even growing more.
Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon. I mean, you just don't know from year to year. It all. I mean, people may have delayed in replacing your vehicle for a couple of years due to the economy, and then all of a sudden you get a surge because those people who delayed came and decided to replace their vehicles. But then you could have another lull because now that they all have new vehicles, nobody's going out and replacing them again for a few years, and so that revenue source can be very volatile because of that reason.
Absolutely. So talk to me about other areas in which we're seeing some growth, maybe an uptick. Is there anything else that we're seeing kind of a significant or a continuing trend on the rise?
Nothing of significance on the rise. We're pretty much seeing a leveling of receipts coming in. One area that we're actually seeing a reduction in, which is kind of interesting, is the building permits. Building permits, gas permits, plumbing permits, all the inspectional type fees. They're actually down from this time last year. Last year was a extraordinarily high year for us in that particular field. I think, again, similar to motor vehicles, I think a lot of people delayed doing some renovation projects, and last year the building inspections was flooded with permits, and we saw that reflected to the fees we collected, and they're not as high this year. So, that trend seems to be going downwards a little bit, but we projected that revenue conservatively in anticipation of something like that happening. So that was kind of interesting to see that.
So when we're here in the third quarter or after the third quarter of the fiscal year, can we anticipate that the fourth quarter is going to be similar? I mean, I know we mentioned looking at those beach sticker or parking revenues are going to go up a little bit, but can you kind of get a good picture as to what the income is looking like for the entire year at this point in the game?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do is we look at what happened during the last quarter of the previous fiscal years, maybe going back as far as 3 years, and trying to project out, how the end of the year is going to look if we look at the last three previous fiscal years for that quarter, identify any unusual circumstances that may transpire during that time period, eliminate those outliers, and then that allows us to project going forward, what the final quarter of the fiscal year may look like. And so far, when we're looking at that, we don't see any major surprises in any area, and we're confident that we're going to hit our revenue projections.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about the enterprise funds, because I'm looking at the old Barnstable Fairgrounds report, for instance, and it seems like after a couple of years of going down, it seems as though things are going back up over at old Barnstable.
Yeah, I mean, revenues are on the rise for golf overall. We're starting to see some trends upwards finally. As you said, for years, golf was declining, but we're starting to see some growth back there again, so that's encouraging. And with this long winter, we actually saw a delay in membership renewals because people couldn't play for like a 3-month period because of snow on the ground, and so we were a little bit concerned about the renewals of memberships, but that was the only reason. People were just delaying. They didn't want to renew their membership if they couldn't play golf. So those are coming in fast now, and we're seeing some reasonable growth in golf. Not amazing, but it's reasonable. It's encouraging to see the trend going upwards.
And you can hear more about town finances every Wednesday during our hour-long news program on Barnstable This Morning. The program airs weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will hear from Town Councilor Deborah Dagwan. We will talk with Assistant Airport Manager Katie Service. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.